please bear with us. And during the entire program, if anybody has any questions at any time, just go ahead and raise your hand. We'll answer them right away so you won't forget. I want to do a few introductions this morning. The people that are going to be talking, I think most of you may be familiar with me. My name is Joe. I'm the police chief here. When I introduce you, if you don't mind standing up real quick, we've got our Monroe County Coroner, Vicki Kerber. And we have a number of individuals from an organization called St. Louis Heroin Help and also Stop the Heroin Movement. These individuals, some of them are actively recovering from heroin abuse, and they're going to share with you some stories that they have. We have April Klepper. Could you please stand up? Courtney Fissinger. Robert Riley. And then we also have Erica Sondog. She is a PR person for the organization and also for the Recovery County. Independent. They're both very good. So, Vicki, if we have her, we'll go ahead and. I hate when her phone rings. Then let's, we'll go ahead and we'll start with, how about April? We'll begin.
Hi, my name is April Klepper, and I'm part of the Stop Heroin Movement. I've been doing heroin awareness and rallies for 2 years now in the St. Louis area. I'm a recovering addict for 8. Part of my addiction was mostly crack cocaine. I've tried heroin a few times. I've lost 29 friends to the heroin epidemic. I've been clean 8 years almost. Kind of a normal childhood life, living on a farm in Collinsville, Illinois. You guys are familiar with that. Grew up, great life, great everything, and married a city police officer. Had 4 wonderful children, and bam, drug addiction got me after the first divorce. There's many things that will lead you to use. The main thing we're trying to do now is to stop it before the children get to it. That's the main concern I have, because once an addict picks up, it is so hard for us to stop. So we need to educate all of you teachers on what to look for, which would be bad hygiene, sleeping a lot in class, dark circles under their eyes, yellow pasty looking skin, weight loss, just behavioral changes. Your student gets very angry, normally nice kid, look for that. Needle marks on their arms. Sometimes they don't even shoot the dope. They can snort it, they can smoke it, ingest it. Heroin is the cheapest drug on the market today. I know a lot of you guys probably worry about the kids smoking marijuana. They are getting heroin a lot cheaper than they're getting the marijuana today. For $5 you can get a button of heroin and kill yourself. This is very drastic. It's got to be taken care of. So far, working in Monroe County, you guys are doing great down here. We've hit it ahead of time, I believe. I think with all the help of every one of you in this room, spreading awareness to your children in the classes, homes, and in your community, we will be able to stop it down here. It's getting really bad in Madison and St. Clair. I don't know what our chances are there, but we're working there as well. But I do have hope for Columbia, Redbud, Waterloo, all the little towns down here. My family now lives in Redbud, Illinois. We had to migrate out of Collinsville. I'm actually in St. Louis, downtown. I've been there 20 years. But most of my family's in Redbud, and that's what drew me down here. So try to get into these schools ahead of time, because my cousins are all raising their children down here. We really have to stop this, you guys, and the only way we can do it is us adults start watching these kids. And Courtney and Robert, they'll be able to go into a little more detail of everything, but I just wanted you guys to know what got me involved in it. And my main thing is we've got to get to the children, okay?
I'm Courtney Fissinger. I'm from Waterloo, Illinois, and I'm only 18, and I'm supposed to be a 2012 graduate of Waterloo High School. I'm an addict, and I'm in recovery. I have almost 8 months clean. I'm kind of going to go into a little bit of my story, because I started getting high in junior high. And I'm kind of going to go into the signs and the symptoms and things that you could really pick up on that, you know, were noticeable. And like, I've spoken to some of my teachers, and they said now that I've said it, they could see it, but they couldn't while I was there. I know with me, I started using at age 13. It was just marijuana. It was all cool, you know, weekends only, not okay, but then like eventually, as things got more difficult and the more I wanted, like, you know, I wanted to party. You know, I was getting into high school, that's what I wanted to do. Started popping pills at 14, and I just kept going with that. And eventually at age 15, I had something happen in my personal life, and I started doing heroin. And I got up to eventually, by the end of my addiction, I was into a $150 a day habit. And, you know, you can get high for $5 to $10, but, you know, I was spending, like, a lot more than that. I know things that you really need to watch for is definitely bad hygiene. I would go weeks without brushing my teeth or showering. And let me tell you, it smells. So, I mean, if the kids sitting in class stinking, then, you know. But I didn't brush my teeth. My teeth, like, are still all messed up. I've had a lot of dental work and everything else. Not showering, bruising on the arms, especially. I mean, I was walking around in t-shirts and not wearing hoodies. I mean, you could visibly see the bruising and the scarring and everything else, and people just didn't notice it, or if they did, they didn't care. I mean, I don't know which one it is, but, you know. I know with me, I completely changed my behaviors. I was a pretty bubbly person, and for people that know me now, they know I'm still pretty bubbly. But while using, I was very angry, and basically I got angry all the time. I didn't do any schoolwork, and before I hit high school, I was mostly an A student. I had a couple B's here and there, but then like high school hit, and I'm like failing 3 or 4 classes at the time. And I mean, I didn't do homework. I stopped hanging out with the friends I was hanging out with. I switched, my whole life changed, and I isolated a lot. Like, I didn't talk to people. The only thing I would talk about in school was the people I was running with and getting high with, and we like talk about the party that was going on that night. And I mean, listening to stuff that you hear in the hallways, take it seriously. Because I don't know how many times I had teachers tell me this is not the place to talk about that, and then we'd move on, and that was the end of it. You know, anyway, well, when I was 16, it was right before I turned 17, I went to school under the influence, like heavily under the influence, and they thought I was overdosing. I know they called the ambulance and everything, and, you know, I didn't, thank God. But they did call the ambulance, you know, the police got called and everything else. I got expelled from school. And from there, like, my parents forced me to go into an outpatient treatment. Where I went to treatment, my counselor allowed us to get high. I mean, he signed on a paper every week for me to give to my parents saying that she's not getting high anymore, you know, that it's all good. But the only time he would do that is if I did test positive for opiates, because heroin was my drug choice and it's an opiate. Now if I tested positive for, say, cocaine or ecstasy or something like that, you just let it go. I mean, they caught him later, he's been fired, they replaced him, which is great. But even still, like, my parents were doing everything in their power to stop me, and even still, I wasn't going to stop because there's nothing they can do, because with an addict, they're not going to stop. You can lock them up, you can do whatever you want to do, but it's not going to work unless they want it. So that's why it's really, like, necessary to pick up on it in the very beginning, because maybe something you say or something you do could stick with them that makes them want to stop. I mean, because I did have some people that cared, like people that I was friends with before I started using, I got talked to like on a weekly basis by kids even. And, you know, like some of the things, like it hit home, like I have some friends, like I can't even look in the face anymore because I feel so bad because of how I treated them while I was using, and they don't even care that that's how I treated them. They're just glad I'm okay now. I know, continuing on like with my high school, like with rehab and everything, well, I got out of that program, and eventually I did realize I did have a problem because I tried to stop by myself, and as we all know, you know, dopamines don't stop on their own, they can't. Because I went through withdrawal, I get sick, and you know, being sick, it's painful. I mean, your muscles ache, you're throwing up, you're very sick. And it hurts, and you know, you don't want to go through that, you know, so it doesn't matter. Like, I go a few hours before I take off running down to the city to go get high. And I didn't even want to get high, it's more like I just didn't want to be sick. I mean, getting high was no longer fun, it was miserable. And, well, anyway, I went back to school. I did get expelled, but it was a semester expulsion. And I got expelled like 2 days into the second semester. So I started in the fall of this past school year. Past school year. And I went back and I didn't get high before school for like a week because I was like, I can't do this, I'm gonna get kicked out, I'm not doing that, you know. I mean, I get high immediately. Like, I'd be in the car and I'd be setting everything up, and I'd be sticking a needle in my arm before I even left the parking lot. because I'd get sick in school. And eventually after that week stop, it was on. I mean, I was sitting there shooting up in the bathrooms. I'd be snorting pills in the bathroom. I was selling the pills and everything in the bathroom, anything I had to do to support my habit. And all this was going on in the schools. And I mean, I know that there's only so much, as teachers and, administrators and stuff that you guys can do with being, in the bathrooms with these kids, because you can't watch every single kid. I mean, but it's good to try. When during a passing period, just like pop in the bathroom or like right after a passing period, pop in there to be like, okay, is there anybody still in here, And anyway, well, I continued using, and finally what happened was around Thanksgiving of 2011, I realized the problem came back. I kept thinking, I have a problem. And I kept trying to stop. First time I made it like 3-4 hours. Next time I made it maybe about a day. Maybe not even a whole day. But then finally, it was January 30th. Yeah, January 30th of this year. I went to my assistant principal because, they knew me from my first expulsion, and I told her, I was like, I think I have a problem. I need to go to treatment, I need help, and so she called my mom with me. And, my mom came and picked me up because she asked me, are you under the influence? And I'm like, no, swearing up and down, I'm not, and I can't even hold my head up, and I'm slurring like no other. She's like, let's just call your mom, have your mom come pick you up. I went, my mom picked me up, we went out to lunch and everything, and she still talks about this lunch. She's like, Courtney, you were disgusting. Because I was sitting there, I couldn't eat right, and I had about that much sugar and a cup full of tea that was only not that big. So it was pretty gross. But anyway, well, I wanted to go to school the next day, and my mom told me, no, you don't need to go. But I talked her into it, and she let me go. And well, I had given my mom over $600 worth of drugs that day when she picked me up. I gave my mom over $600 worth of drugs and paraphernalia. But I kept just enough to get me through the next day because I knew I was leaving for treatment. But I didn't want to be sick before I went. I didn't want to be sick. That's not, we don't get sick. Anyway, so I took just enough, and well, I got high before school, of course, because if not, my sick was going to start. And well, before I went to school, I had found I had an ashtray in my car, and I used it for a change holder. And well, I would stop and I'd get a tea every morning at this. That's not even more really. And I was digging out my change, and I found a button. And that's heroin. It was one of those little $5-10 highs. And well, I was already beyond myself. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm gonna die. That's all that was running through my head. I'm gonna die. I can't do this. Well, I sat on it for a little bit. I went into school. I didn't do it. It was still in my car. And I sat there. And then I went to one of the social workers at the school. And I told her, I was like, I have this in my car. I don't want to do it. And if it's still in my car when I leave school today, I will do it. And I was like, can you come with me? Have me throw it away, flush it, whatever. Can I have my mom come get it out? Whatever I had to do. And I'm not really sure how it happened, but by the end of it, the cops were there. And I caught a felony charge. I had possession of a controlled substance on school property, and that definitely didn't help the situation. So I'm now on probation, and I have a record because of what I did. Because one thing that this disease will take you, it's you are going to go to jail, you're going to die, or you're going to be locked up in a silent psycho ward, I guess, whatever you want to call it, mental institution. That's a simple word for it, but basically all kinds of fun places, that have that really great food. And it's you don't realize, I've lost several friends just this past year to this thing. Someone I went to treatment with, because I went to treatment back in February, someone I went to treatment with, he was struggling with getting clean, and by the end of it, he got high and he got so upset about it, he shot himself because he couldn't stay clean. This disease is going to take you out either on its own, or it's going to cause you to take yourself out. It's not going to just, happen. You either got to get straight, or you're gone, you're done for. There's nothing, you're going to die using it, and they'll tell you that's what I don't want to go. Because, that scares me to death. My last use, I woke up in St. Elizabeth Hospital with no recollection of what happened. I thought I had gotten into a car accident or something like that because I had been clean for a little bit before I got high. And, I woke up and I'm like, what happened? And by the end of it, they're like, there were puncture marks on your arms, we believe you overdosed, this, and this. And I was like, yeah, that's what happened. And I broke down crying, and well, then the police again showed up. And that didn't help me, and I was dead when I got to the hospital. And when the police showed up, I had a panic attack because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to get put on probation and I'm going to catch more charges right before this starts. And I died again. And they make this drug, it's Narcan, yeah, Narcan. What it does is it's reverses the effects of heroin, it basically stops you from dying. And usually it only takes one shot, they gave me 3 by the end of it. And that's what it took to save my life. And know, I'm grateful for that today. I mean, let me tell you, I was really mad. I started ripping the IVs out of my arm because I was bleeding, as far as I was concerned. And I mean, you know, I didn't leave, of course. You know, I called my parents, and my parents had told me after I relapsed that they were going to kick me out. So I'm thinking my mom's not coming because she hung up the phone on me. But, you know, they came. They came. And, I mean, let me tell you, I sat there and let my mom hold me and bawled like a baby at 18, thinking, you know, acting like this 2-year-old little girl who was scared to death. So, I mean, it's scary. And, I mean, even the people that are using, they're scared. And, you know, you might not, you used to hide from fear. You used to hide, like, anything. Like, you can be having a bad day and you have to get high to make yourself feel better. You can be having a good day and you have to be high to make it even better. You know, we come up with every excuse and every reason to stick a needle in our arms. The majority of the time, I mean, not really. Yeah. And, I mean, you know, it's like, we have to do that to get through our daily lives. If we go into animal instinct survival mode, you know, we're not normal, like, oh, let's just do this because it's fun. No, we're in survival mode. We have to do that to survive, because if not, we're not going to make it. You know, but then we have to go through that sick to live, because, you know, you're not truly living when you're getting high. You're just existing, and, you know, and that sucks. I mean, I don't really know what else to say on it, but I mean, definitely watch for, like, the nodding, the oversleeping in class. Like, I know me, I had teachers all the time, Courtney, wake up, wake up, wake up. And it's like, okay, I'm awake, and then bam. You know, it's like there's a difference between falling asleep on your hand, like, you know how kids will, like, lean. There's a difference between just falling asleep and, like, you're being nodding and, like, you're sitting there fighting it, which, I mean, kids do that at the beginning anyway when they're first falling asleep. I know that from before I was getting high. But, I mean, when you're sitting there fighting it the whole time, or your, like, face slams into the desk, there's something there, and you might want to possibly pull them aside or whatever, drooling, I guess. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. I mean, I know that was a big one for me. I'd sleep from first hour to probably about lunchtime, and then I'd be semi-awake and sit there and kind of be napping a little bit. I know that was the biggest thing for me, is sleep. And then bruising. Like my arms, I would be bruised. I'd have needle marks. I don't know how many times I went to school. I still have blood on my arms that I didn't realize I had on my arms. I mean, there's a picture in one of my yearbooks that my friend has from homecoming, and I have a blood smear down my arm, and it's in the yearbook. And I mean, I didn't even notice it. She didn't. She showed it to me, you know? It's like you don't realize everything because you don't always get yourself completely cleaned up before you go to go in public places and put on a face, you know? So, I mean, I'd say watch for sleeping, bruising, scarring. I mean, because there will be puncture marks, and they're obvious what they are. I mean, now it's right after a blow job, obviously not, but yeah. I guess, yeah, the hoodies in 100-degree weather. I personally didn't do that. I mean, I ran around in t-shirts all year round, and no one ever noticed, because, you know, I was a good kid for the, I mean, because the addicts aren't bad people. We're good people, you know, we're just doing bad things. We're sick people trying to get better, pretty much. I mean, I know with me, I was on color guard. I was in Big Brothers Big Sisters. I did German club for a little bit. You know, I was involved. I did stuff. I was in marching band. I did all kinds of stuff. And, you know, and I still fell into this. And, I mean, and I managed to go to all of this through. And, I mean, it was pretty obvious to people who know that I was using, but people who don't aren't aware. It wasn't obvious. Like, my parents had no idea. My parents didn't know until they got the call from the school saying that they thought I overdosed. I mean, that's how my parents found out. You know, that's not how a parent wants to find that stuff out. Because, I mean, I live with them. I've always lived with them. And, you know, they don't notice that. And, I mean, I'm not saying things get perfect when you get clean. You still have to deal with a bunch of stuff. I mean, I can tell you right now, I want to go run with a dope man on a daily basis. But the thing is, though, I don't. Because I know that's not going to make it better. And it's just going to get worse. I mean, so, I mean, do what you can to help these kids. Because, I mean, it's better to catch it before you pick up. Because if you're an addict, and you pick up even one time, you're off to the races, and it's not going to stop till you're ready or you're gone. I mean, it's one way or the other, and that's all I got.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Kerber. I'm your Monroe County coroner, and by the time any of what you're hearing today gets to me, it's way too late. So a few months ago, Erica Sunday came back over to me and asked if by any chance we could get into the schools with a group of people that would be able to speak to the teachers, because who besides parents spend the most time with kids nowadays, and it's the teachers. So along with Chief Joe Edwards, I want to thank the staff here at Columbia for allowing us to come in and speak very frankly and hopefully openly with discussion from questions from you folks. Statistic-wise, of what I'm seeing here in Monroe County, since 2011, we had about 10 deaths attributed to drug overdoses. These deaths include fentanyl, OxyContin, oxycodone, hydrocodone, cocaine, and heroin. And a combination of any of these drugs along with alcohol is even worse yet. It gives you into, basically you go into respiratory depression. These are all depressants. And you just forget to stop breathing and you die. What I've seen so far in age groups is anywhere from 20s all the way up to mature adults. But what I'm finding is it doesn't start out right away for users. It's a continual progression. And a lot of this is starting already here in high school, as well as junior high. How many junior high teachers do we have here today? It's very, very important that you do see these signs and symptoms or recognize it, because that's when these kids are starting to dabble and just experiment. Maybe it's Xanax, maybe it's a couple of hydrocodone that they found in their parents' medicine cabinets or grandma and grandpa's, and this is how it starts. And as you heard Courtney, it was recreational at first, and then it progressed. And if we can take at least one child and save them from what's going to come down the line, this is well worth all the time and effort and your time of listening, coming back from the holidays, and we hit you with this kind of a program. But basically what I'm seeing, Monroe County EMS, and Joe, I don't know if you've probably got statistics for Columbia EMS, they're running about 30 drug overdose a year. That's over 2 a month. And I know of at least 2 deaths that were attributed to overdoses that I can't even include in my statistics, because EMS ran them into St. Louis, and anything that crosses the county line doesn't go into my statistics. It'll go into whatever hospital, whatever county they're in. So it is a problem, and I'm here to tell you it is in our own backyard. There's no doubt. So without any further questions or any questions, please, if you do have questions, stop the presenter, ask them. You don't have to wait to the end while it's on your mind, and please be very open with them. They're here to educate you as educators. And I was going to ask, do you at Columbia High and Junior High have policy or protocol as to what to do if you suspect a student that may be using?
Yes, we usually, we suspect a student using, the teacher will email somebody, and either the counselor or the nurse, and then the nurse will come in and we'll talk to the administration, and then we'll huddle together, and then they'll usually handle it that way, and go from there with the administration.
One of the things that I found by going into these into our schools is that sometimes it's not all clear cut as to how to handle it if you suspect. Nobody ever wants to label a kid because of, you know how that goes with, you heard Courtney say her mom had no clue. So when you get that phone call as a parent, you're like, are you sure? My kid? So I was wondering if you had something in place, and it sounds like you do. Great. Okay, Robert.
Hi everybody, my name is Robert Riley, and I'm a recovering addict. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on my story. I'll just qualify myself by saying that 5 years ago, the United States of America had me behind federal prison walls in a maximum security prison. I have been in recovery now since September 6, 2006, and just celebrated over 6 years. So you don't have to keep me locked up anymore. You know, I got involved here, obviously, in recovery in the recovery community. I'm real involved. I sponsor, you know, 4 guys that are recovering heroin addicts. One of my sponsees actually started the first Heroin Anonymous meeting over in St. Louis, and I think there's 6 of them now, something like that. And then it progressed, and you know, I met a guy who's not here today. One of my best friends, Chad Sabor, he doesn't mind me using his name, but he's a ex-prosecuting attorney from Cook County, Illinois. Also was an active heroin addict while prosecuting cases. I don't know, been in the news and everything like that. But he and I kind of hooked up. He called me up and said, you know, I'm getting a lot of calls from parents and family members. And, you know, you have a little bit more sobriety, and maybe you could go on some of these calls with me. And we started doing these, you know, we call them 12-step calls in recovery, but they're kind of interventions. And so here you have a former gang member. You know, I've been incarcerated. I'm 42. I've been incarcerated. Started my incarceration at 15, and it just progressed. And it was all as a result of the choices I made from my active addiction. I didn't get out of prison until I was 36. So here you have this former prosecutor calling me up, and here we're going out to these houses. And what we're seeing is, and what some of the people touched on is, you know, it's starting earlier and earlier. And Courtney just said 13 is where it's really started. And what we're hearing from the kids out, you know, and the contacts that we're making is they're going to these parties, you know, and there's a little bit of drinking going on, and then somebody comes along, a friend comes along, here, you feel good? Try a couple of these. And that's where it starts. Or grandma's cabinet, or mom's cabinet, or the aunt's, uncle's, wherever. That's where it's starting at, starting with prescription pills. And the opiates in there. And what happens is, you know, it starts with 2 or 4 or 5 Xanaxes, and it quickly progresses. And I've heard as many as 60 and 80 pills a day they're having to ingest, because it is a progressive thing. Their tolerance gets built up, they'll need more just to get off sick, like what Courtney was talking about. And then it just becomes easier for them to go over into the city and buy the $5 or $10 buttons and start shooting heroin. And I'll tell you, I've seen cheerleaders, I've seen, you know, the football kids. I mean, it doesn't matter. It crosses over. One of my very best friends is a doctor who was actually shooting dope into his leg for many years. So the social, economic background, it doesn't really matter. So what we're looking at is what we're doing at StLouisHeroinHelp.org. We're looking at these campaigns. We're trying to hit the social education, trying to talk to you guys a little bit, signs to look at. And obviously we want you on the front lines and paying attention to what they're talking about. Pinpoint eyeballs. It's huge. And when I say pinpoint, I mean pinpoint.
We don't see people.
Yeah, really pinpoint. You know, lethargic. They're just not all there. Generally, addicts will group together, so you'll see them, you know. But more importantly, I think it's important for each and every one of you to go home and educate your families. Let me get these numbers right. I did this on the PBS special, and they cut me off, but it's really important. The United States consumes 99% of the produced opiates and prescription pills that produced in the world, yet we only represent 5% of the world population. Okay? Prescription pills is where it's starting at. You know, we talk about it being heroin, and in the past we talked about it being meth, we talked about it being crack and everything like that. Prescription pills, much like alcohol, is staining. You know, so we need to start looking at social education with kids, talking to them, we do intervention, treatment services, and hopefully we don't get to the point where we're going with 50 on a daily basis. Although, you know, I mean, I've seen, we were working with a girl who was struggling and struggling and struggling, and she was on sick, and that's the term that we use, where your body it's shutting down, it's needing that drug, and it's just shutting down, it's making you do whatever it takes. She was at that point and actually hung herself in the county jail just to get off sick. And that's you know, I mean, I have many stories like that. I think today is really just to kind of give you a first tell of what to look for. And for me personally, it's for you guys to go home and tell all your family members, because that's how we're going to do this thing. You know, I don't know about, well, Illinois does have it. Missouri, we're trying to get the prescription monitoring program. We're the only state in the United States that doesn't have it. I actually got to meet with, I got to meet with Obama's drug czar who was here a few months ago, and talked to him about that. You know, you know, anything's possible in recovery. You know, my life has completely changed around. Who would have thought? You guys were the ones that wanted me behind 2 fences. speak at a lot of high schools, and I do the work that Chad and I do, and I have my own recovery, and my brothers in recovery, and sisters in recovery, and just watch for the kids, especially the middle school teachers, because it's getting younger, and that's all I got.
Kids that take medicine, does that go through the nurse and then they go there, or?
It should go through the nurse. If somebody finds that kids have medicine, they'll send them to the nurse or to the office.
Yeah, no, because I'm just asking, because I had a girlfriend one time, and her son was in middle school, 7th grade, and he had surgery, and what business 14-year-old actually had 65 getting for? So as a parent, I mean, I know even when my kids were 17 and 18, they had wisdom too. I was in control of their medicine. I wasn't going to say, okay, here you go, here's 20 Vicodin, I mean, just because they're 17 and they, I don't know, when she told me that, I was like, well, why would you let him have it? She's like, they're his, and I'm like, really? Do you know what he did with them? He took them to school and he sold them for $5 a piece.
Over in the St. Louis at the Parkway School District, something that we were able to work with them on is, and I don't know if you guys do it here, but in their health classes, they started actually doing a segment on alcoholism and addiction, and that's where they're letting us come in, and I'll bring in recovering addicts, and we'll come in and like Courtney, and we'll tell our stories and talk to them about it, and kind of give them, let them relate, and I'll tell you what, and so I don't know if you're doing that here, but please look at it, because we had 2 kids that contacted us this year. We write our emails up, and we let them know that we're not with law enforcement, we're not going to contact their parents or school. Just if they're experiencing anything like what we describe, email us. Let us get you some information, get you in context. I don't know if you guys are doing that with the health classes, but I strongly suggest it because I've seen just those 2 kids. Just those 2 kids. That's the thing with what I'm doing with St. Louis Heroin Help. I've been involved with trying to get some legislation passed. Who would ever thought? A guy looking like that, walking in, I can't even vote for the rest of my life. And I'm working with legislators on passing legislation because we have to hit this thing on so many levels. But just pay attention to what's going on in school. Go home and educate your families. Go home and tell just 5 family members. That's all I ask you. And ask them to tell 5 family members, just so that we can start, doing addiction. Alcoholism 70 years ago, was such a stigma. Today, you hear Alcoholics Anonymous, you hear all these stars coming out with it. It's a little bit more. Drug addiction, we hear it all the time, but this is the end that we hear it on. We want to remove some of that stigma with all the family members. Okay, so that we can start providing services. Start providing the services within the community. Start working on this. I know it's touched my family. Couple generations of it, and I don't know if you guys have family members that it's touched, but anybody I talk to, almost anybody I talk to, it's somewhere and they can relate with somebody that it's touched. So that's all I've got.
I know a few of you probably recognize me. I am a Columbia graduate. I graduated in '94. I'm Erica Benzie Sunday. So actually, I met April, and you're going to laugh at me, but I met April ghost hunting a couple months ago, and this is how I got involved with it. I'm actually the PR for the forum, if you want to call it that. So I just wanted to say, shout out hi to the Columbia teachers that are trying to figure out who I am. Thanks.
I apologize for the way I look. I didn't realize it was going to be like this. And I got 0 sleep last night, so I am going to leave my sunglasses on. Going through a really rough time. My son just hit a year. The holidays, I have so much going on. And, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. Brandon passed away November 19th, and he actually passed away in St. Louis. He left a nightclub in Centerville and left with some people that he didn't really know, and he ended up using. Just stuff didn't add up with me with how Brandon passed away, so calling him Mother on a Mission for the past year. I had his phone, I had his incoming, outgoing, it just didn't add up. His of death was 1:52 in the afternoon. And then when I had asked the MP what time actually Brandon passed away, he had said it had been approximately 3 hours prior to. So, Brandon had been gone for 3 hours, doing some investigating, going some places I shouldn't have gone, talking to some people. It's like putting pieces to a puzzle together. But he was going to do it because the police, the one witness that was there, well, this happens all the time. Well, and it's so hard to tell people because the stigma of it, and I didn't even know about heroin. I'm from Redbud. So I really didn't even know that it made its way back. I mean, I never, ever knew. And just, stuff didn't add up with Brandon's death. Come to find out, I did talk to the person that he was last with. He did admit to me walking Brandon around the room for 2 hours and packing him with ice. More or less, he left my son to die. So I, really when I speak to the kids, I don't know if you guys know about Illinois having the 911 Good Samaritan. They've always had like a Good Samaritan law, but this law has been passed. And it actually grants you immunity. They just want you to save that life. They just want these kids to call for help. St. Louis does not have this law. So, maybe this guy was on probation, his wife had a warrant out for arrest. Just maybe if they would know that they were granted immunity, I mean, maybe my son's life could have been saved, but they're scared they're going to get in trouble. So that's why all these bodies are getting dumped in St. Louis, because you're going to get in trouble. So when you're granted immunity, you can, if you're on probation, you have a warrant for your arrest, you can still have dope there. Of course, if you have there's like a limited amount. Yeah, which usually if you go in, I mean, you're not going to really probably have that much, but you are granted immunity. I mean, it just hit me really hard because, when I thought of a heroin addict, I thought of this stigma. I would never think Courtney was, and if you saw my son, you wouldn't think that he was. And I really didn't know. And I know people think, how did you not know? I really didn't know. I mean, I didn't know. And got educated on it. And then after meeting with April and then, going to St. Louis, I just wanted to meet people like me. And I thought, I'm here in Illinois, but Brandon passed in St. Louis, what do I do? Met some people and stuff, and we did rallies. I'm not gonna lie to you. My son, he was a good kid. His heroin use wasn't that long, like a lot. Brendan, he never disrespected me or his dad. Never disrespected anybody. I never had to go to pawn shops to retrieve my family heirlooms. I've never had a check that's not my checkbook. I mean, I never had anybody come to me and say that, Brandon took anything. Over 700 people at my son's funeral in Redbud. The second largest funeral to ever go through Redbud. People had to leave there because there was no place to park. They waited 3.5, 4 hours in line to see my son. I mean, everybody loved Brandon. He was just great. Courtney was there. She knew my son. So then I'm starting to think about, he's using in Redbud, and I start hearing about some kids and all this, and so I still did the rallies, but I wanted to raise awareness over here because I figured we already had all these people in St. Louis. So me and April just kind of got together, and I said, April, the rallies are great, but I just feel, when I go to rally, I feel like it's exhausting, it's overwhelming, and it's just upsetting. I'm just sitting around and I'm just looking at all these people and I'm going, oh my gosh, and then you see new faces, and but nobody knows my story, standing on a corner, and I still think that's great and everything, but I want to get to these kids. I wanted to get to these kids, and I actually spoke at Coderville, and then I actually spoke at Des Moines High School and Pickneyville High School with our United States Attorney, Mr. Whittington. Wigginton, and that went great. The kids, it was a positive response. I mean, the kids were really open, and you know what? I'm sorry, but I wanted to make them kids cry. I wanted them to feel my pain. Maybe, just maybe, you know, and you don't know, but I just wanted them to hear Brandon's story and watch his video and just see how bad that we're hurting and what it's done to our family. I've been married to my husband for 26 years. It's torn us apart. Every day I'm a mess. I can't sleep. I mean, how do you go on without your child, you know? And then I was getting so tired of getting the door slammed in my face. Because I went to the Red Bud High School because I had Brandon's cell phone, and I'm like, I just gotta get to these kids. I just gotta get to these kids. And I went to the Red Bud High School, and I walked in the principal's office. And I had my son's phone and everything. And I told him what was going on in his school. And he told me, no, it wasn't. He said, I know there's a lot of marijuana usage here, but I'm not so sure about heroin. I said, well, I'm here to tell you different, because I have my son's phone, and I can name 3 students in your high school right now who are using. Do you want me to tell you? You know, I said, do you want me to go there? And then he said that he would call me. And then it was like 10 days before the kids were getting out of school. And all I was thinking in my mind was, we're going to lose kids over the summer. We're going to lose kids over the summer, because he never called. I mean, we had Mr. Wigginton willing to come down with his panel. But what is it going to hurt? But I know, you know, at heroin in school, people don't accept it. I was embarrassed to tell people how my son passed away. You know, what was people going to think of me? If I, you know, by telling them that, you know, I claimed $450,000, $500,000 home. What are they going to think of me, you know, when I tell them how my son passed away? But, you know, I just never had that with Brandon. Actually, after Brandon passed away, by fluke, I came across a newspaper article on the internet, which I would never even go on the internet to even do that, because I don't even watch the news and all that. I don't want to know about how many more, because there are so many. And I even told them, I told everybody, I said, it's coming. I said, it's going to be making itself across the river. We're going to start losing kids in Waterloo. I mean, and then I had an article in the paper about me. I had 3 parents contact me from Freeburg that their kids passed away. 2 in New Athens, 1 in Ellis Grove. I mean, so a lot of these deaths that you're not hearing about, too. Because they want to make, you know, think that it is somewhat under control. When my son passed away on November 19th, he was number 78, I think, in the city of St. Louis. When I went a few weeks later to get the police report, and my husband was over there talking to Rose, the medical investigator, that day that I had went there, it had officially exceeded the number of gunshot wound victims in the city of St. Louis. It was up to 104 heroinists, and that's just in the city of St. Louis.
That was also in 2011, our statistics today in St. Louis City lost over 300 people this year.
You're kidding. And then see this girl that I met through grief counseling, her daughter died 2 weeks before Brandon, and she was number 48. So from 2 weeks, and then Brandon was already 78, that's how many we had lost then. But I came across a newspaper article, and I ended up reading the name. The name sounded familiar. It was the same name as the name on my son's police report. And it said, you know, 2 siblings charged in Moscow, no, Leanne's heroin overdose. Ended up being the same people that was with my son. And they are actually in jail in Troy, Missouri, for second-degree murder, but it's for Doug. So, you know, for right now, my justice for Brandon is justice, you know, for Doug. But I just want everybody to know I am not in denial of what my son did. I blame Brandon. Brandon did it 100%. I'm not a mother in denial. My son chose heroin. Heroin did not choose my son. But once he got my son, he took him and wouldn't let him come home to me. I mean, just that fast, overnight, you know. How can something that fast come into your life and take your child? And, you know, it's amazing. And that's just what I wanted everyone to know. I mean, it's just, just hit us like, what, you know, overnight, boom. So, just tired of getting the doors slammed in my face, people being in denial over it. At the Redbud Park, somebody told me they were walking the Redbud Skate Park, and somebody wrote, one of the kids wrote in real big letters, "Heroin is good." So I'm thinking, okay, you guys are telling me that I'm in denial. I don't stop, you know, when I go these rules. And so I went to the IGA, and I actually got like 16 copies of them, and I noticed that at the four-way they were having a barbecue at the bank. So I just walked up to each one of them, and I said, "Do you have a child that goes to Redbud High School or grade school?" "Yes, I do." I handed them the picture, and I said, "Well, I would just like you to know that this is what the kids are writing at your skate park, where your kids play ball, your kids swing, you know." So
With that, I commend Monroe County fully for everything that you guys are doing down here, because Monroe has been on the ball. We've not had one door shut in our face in your guys' community.
yeah, because that's
That's
what I
a
do.
positive thing.
Because I was doing heroin forums in the evening, and parents were coming. And that's great, because parents definitely need to be educated on it also. But you're not getting, I just kept saying that the kids aren't gonna come to a forum in the evening at 7 o'clock after they've been in school all day. You got Xbox and internet and all that. They're not gonna come. I mean, it's just gotta be where they're made to hear it, you know, and
So can I ask Courtney, when you were using a school and you did it in the parking lot or in the bathroom, were you just handing pills, or did all the kids get
Like
together and
selling
say,
them?
bring them in?
When I was selling stuff in what? Whenever I was selling things in the bathroom, mainly it was prescription pills. I had friends of mine who I got high with, their parents would sell me their prescription bottles for, let's say, I don't know, 50, 60 bucks. And I could sell it and get my $50, $60 back, plus $120 in my pocket to feed my habit. Or I could just sit there and eat them myself and basically escalate my high.
Were there a lot of kids that were doing prescription drugs during school day?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, once I was in high school, I was doing pills or heroin every single day. And I mean, and I know there was a group of us that always did it every
kids
day.
bring their Adderall to school, and they'll give it to their friends, and they're in the bathroom snorting Adderall. And I still have kids that go to high school and they
Yeah, I
and
mean-
stuff, and little do they know, they're telling me this stuff, and I'm going, really? Vicodin goes for $5 or $6 at school, you know, so if their parents have it in the medicine cabinet, they can pick up $12 that day at school. So it's, yeah, Oxycontin, $50 a pill. People can make a living on this. If they get 60 Vicodin in a month and they sell them for however much, I mean,
But according to this, it would be the easiest way to go instead of getting high and smelling like pot for the day.
I don't know. I might not be the greatest person to ask that question. I didn't like marijuana. I mean, I did it first, but then I didn't. Yeah, like, I mean, I liked it at first, but then, like, once I found, like, opiates, especially being Oxycontin, Vicodin, Percocet, whatever, you know, opiate based, once I found that, I realized that was better for me and my body chemistry, and I didn't want anything else. I mean, most of the time, like, I know in my car, I'd have 8 air fresheners hanging around the things, and then I had things in the vents, and then I kept them, like, under the seats, and I put, like, dryer sheets all over the place, and, like, basically my car smelled like a dryer, because we weren't allowing it to smell like that, because, I mean, my parents got my car as well.
Do kids keep it on or in their cars?
Just depends. I know with me, I keep pills on me. I didn't keep weed on me because the bag you open, you know, you can leave like a little trail. And, you know, with pills, you know, it's easier to seal the bag so that, you know, without burning or destroying your product pretty much.
but
But
now looking back, I was wondering where all my spoons were going in my house. I didn't mention that. I was like, what the heck is going on with my spoons?
yeah.
And then after my son did pass away, I would find spoons downstairs in the basement, and they would be like black on the bottom because they were putting the heroin in there and mixing it with water.
Yeah, see, I know with me with taking the spoon things, I really didn't. I think I took maybe 2 spoons for my parents, and they were actually like not normal spoons, they were really big ones. But I go to Walmart, and Walmart sells a pack of 4 spoons for $1. When I had that extra $1, I went and I got a spoon. If not, I know Belleville, they have, it's called Naomi. It's a needle exchange, or it's also known as Bethany's Place. You can go up there, get clean needles, cookers, water, cottons, everything you need for free, and they'll give you a biohazard bin to put your thing in.
Yeah, they give you a little brown bag special to use your.
It's a black bag, or white, what do they call it?
Yeah, but still, it's okay.
I mean, but they also, yeah, I mean, they also do provide, the Narcan, I can't even talk. Whatever it is, it's a drug that does, like, you know, reverses the effects so that if someone does overdose, we can administer it. I know I've had to
watch a 20-minute video to see, you know.
That's what I did. I mean, I have an ID card. I can go in there and I can say, look, this is what I need, and I can tell them I need 10 of this, 10 of this, 10 of this, 10 of this, and they'll just give it to me. And I on my card, I know I can get that drug. I mean, I've had it used on me. I've taught people how to use it because I don't know, like my last use was an overdose. That was not my first trip in a hospital for an overdose. The rest of them, my friends waited in the parking lot and I just rip everything out of my arms and take off running.
Well, I've heard addicts say they had what they would do to themselves.
Oh yeah, well, see, I've
had some people say that though.
But I know, like with me, like I had it that night that I did overdose, but my friends didn't know how to use it. And I mean, all you have to do is they give you the stuff to do it. They'll give you the vial of the drug itself, and then they'll give you, it's usually intermuscular, which is a thicker needle and it's longer, and you have to stick it in, but you have to make sure there's no clothes, you know, or anything, so you don't get like fabric fibers, and if it doesn't work out that way, they give you 2 little needles that you have to fill up to a certain point, and you have to stick it in their tongue. And I mean, and it's painful. Like if not, they have like the EpiPen, and you can use that too, because I mean, I know I've had that used on me. So.
Does anybody have any questions? One of the things I wanted to mention also was that Columbia PD as well as Waterloo and Whiteman's Pharmacy all have drug box receptacles in their lobbies in which you can clean out unused medicines, grandma and grandpa, whatever you have in your medicine cabinets, and bag it and drop them into, at Columbia PD, it's their lobby. It's just a little mailbox, you drop it in, and it goes to the lockup, and then it goes to the DEA, in which the DEA then takes it and destroys the medications. So that's one of the ways to get unused medicines that are maybe tempting to those young kids that, or even children, want to dabble just to start. They did talk about the pills and the street values of them. That's exactly what's happening. The prescription mongers are getting prescriptions for these pills. They're keeping what they need to keep their habits going, and they're selling the rest to the street, on the street, to afford them to keep on going and purchasing. And that's what we're finding. Prescription monitoring is one of the things that we look for doctors. Another one is, if you've heard in the news, the pain management clinics. They're setting up all over. Pain management clinics basically are doctors with drug licenses to prescribe. It's usually on a cash basis when they walk in. There's hundreds of people in lines, and it takes a lot of time and effort to get down to nitty-gritty to bust these so-called doctors. They did have one in Granite City. I've got the article if anybody's interested in reading it. He's associated with numerous deaths. One of them, a young lady, 30 years old, and the grandparents are raising her 2-year-old child, all because he prescribed with no underlying causes. So it is out there, and that's how they're doing it. They're starting with the prescription drugs. So if you've got things in your medicine cabinets, or family members do, bag it up, get it up here to Columbia, or Waterloo, or Whiteman Pharmacy in town, and that's a good start. Not only that, on behalf of the Illinois American Water, we don't want it flushed down into our sewer, into our water systems. If there's no other questions, we're going to end with Chief Edwards, and he's going to give you some local statistics. Again, it is here in our backyard. We're here to tell you it is. So we're hoping by educating you folks and to proceed on, our hope is to do another forum countywide with parents and students. And we're working on developing a DVD that students can see, parents first and then students, and it's going to be the hard truth. It'll have some very frank pictures, as well as people that have gone through this, such as some of our panel today. Thank you very much. I'm going to give you to Joe. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes?
Towards the end, I did go to St. Louis, but when I really got going, I mean, I had done it a few times and I just didn't mess with it, but like, I finally, when I really picked up on it, I had this boyfriend and he had just moved to Waterloo from Tennessee, and he knew people down in the city that, like, he could get it in large quantities, and well, he's sold it. So he would basically just keep me high. Like, I didn't have to pay for anything. He'd just sit there and give it to me. Like, the first time I ever, like, shot up heroin, I woke up, I passed out on the floor, but I woke up with my boyfriend sticking a needle in my arm. You know, because he just wanted to see how high I could get. And that's what he wanted to do.
Still selling?
He's not in the area anymore. He's gone. Like, he's got several warrants out. Like, I know, like, we were still together when he left, and we were both using, but he took off.
But when you were using in Waterloo, there was a lot of people using it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
There was a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, like,
That's what I wanted.
basically, yeah, he was,
Oh,
yeah, there definitely is. And I can tell you, the majority of them are in their early 20s or, like, in high school.
Right.
Because, I mean, like, with my boyfriend being a dealer, I would get it and I would sell it. I mean, that's what I would do. It's horrible, but, I mean, it's part of my story, you know, and I know several other kids, like, I know kids that are going to school at the high school here in Columbia that are selling stuff in the schools, and I know that because I used to be in front of Red Zone, you know, I'd be all over the place. I know several of them have graduated already, but, I mean, there are still a few. I mean, I used to get high with people here, and because there are kids in the schools, there really is. I mean, I was at parties all the time out here, you know, so.
And then I have people like from Redmond say, well, if you know if there's heroin in town, then you obviously haven't done your job. I said, well, I never claimed that getting all the heroin off the streets was my job. I can only tell law enforcement, and if they don't, you know, help us out or whatever, then, you know, what are we to do? So, you know, I can just tell them and warn them, and the way I see it is, it's not for any other reason than I really want no other family to go through what I've been through. I mean, you guys, I mean, to lose a child, it is so devastating. I'm a mess. I'm a mess. I mean, I don't know how to live without my child. I really don't. He was my middle son, and I have a younger one and an older son, but all I did was wanted to warn them. You know, and then here they all turn their heads, and, you know, I even held a rally in Redbud, and my own sister texted me and said, I'm not going to come, Chris, because I don't think you guys are going to be there long. I think you're going to get ran off. So this is the way everybody perceives this, you know. I mean, am I walking in IGA and everyone's going, there's that lady that's saying there's heroin in our town? You know, I mean, I just don't know what the big deal is, why they would not admit it if I have his phone and I'm telling them that it's here. I just, you know, they're in denial.
Well, I'll give you the perspective from Columbia. There is heroin in our country. There's cannabis, there's cocaine, there's every type of drug that is in St. Louis and East St. Louis and Belleville and Granite City and Collinsville. It's not as much, thank goodness, and we're doing everything we can to keep control of it. But let me go over the numbers. At the beginning of the school year at the high school, we did a presentation to all the faculty and staff. A couple months later, we did it here at the middle school to the staff. I've got the numbers from all of 2011 in the city of Columbia related to drugs, and then I'm comparing them to the 2012 numbers, January through November. So the gateway drug cannabis in 2011, in a town of 10,000 residents, we had 16 charges for possession of cannabis. That was a 12-month period. During 11 months in 2012, January to November, we've had a 63% increase. We're up to 26 charges for possession of cannabis. Manufacturing and delivery of cannabis. In 2011, 1 charge. 2012, we're up to 5. Possession of drug paraphernalia. 2011, 12-month period, 24 charges. 11-month period, January to November 2012, 34 charges. That's a 42% increase. Now let's get to the things that we're talking about here, the heroin, the cocaine, the prescription medication. Possession of a controlled substance in 2011, we written 8 charges for that. Through November of this year, we've already written 20. That's a 150% increase in drug violations. The manufacturing and delivery of a controlled substance in 2011, we wrote 2. So far through 2012, that 11-month period, we've written 8, a 300% increase in possession of a controlled substance. Our coroner talked about the EMS numbers from Monroe County. 2011, the Columbia EMS department responded to 9 drug overdose cases. 11 months in 2012, we just don't have all the numbers together yet for December, January to November, 21 overdose cases in the city of Columbia during that time frame. On December 26th of this year, I know for sure we're going to have one more because we're responding to a 25-year-old, unconscious, difficulty breathing, unresponsive. The officers responded, found him completely unclothed in his parents' bedroom with a needle, or in the bathroom with a needle next to him. Luckily, EMS was able to get there. They injected him with that drug that reverses the effects of heroin, and they brought him back. In the last 2 years, we've lost 2 residents to drug overdoses. One resident, a 37-year-old man, had a number of small children. An individual from Dupo, we have charged him with committing that death. He's been charged federally and is facing a trial in April, and he's facing the possibility of life in prison. The most recent one we had last summer is still an ongoing active investigation where an individual was found dead in his house. We are doing everything we can to identify the person who sold him that drug to charge them as well. So the police department in Columbia, we're being very aggressive when it comes to drug offenses. We do not want to lose people in our community because of these horrible, horrible drugs. We see them all around us, Madison County, St. Louis County, St. Clair County. It's occurring everywhere. We have to do what we can to keep the numbers down. And like I told earlier this year when I gave those presentations, you guys can be some of the biggest helpers in reducing these by paying attention to those children. You're with them longer than most of their parents are on a daily basis. Pay attention, and if you recognize any signs that cause you to be bothered, contact your counselors, contact your administrators, contact us. Our goal is to arrest and charge people. Our goal is to, number one, let's see if we can get them some help to prevent Vicki Kerber from having to come out to their house to perform her duties. So we'll work on getting them help. We can always work on charging them later. I think we've reached our time limit. We'll stick around for a little bit if anybody has any questions. Other than that, okay. Thank you all very much.
I'd like to thank Vicki and the panel here for telling your stories. You're very brave for being out, and we appreciate it. Joe, we want to tell Joe, he's unbelievable. Those of you that are in the classroom day in and day out, you don't realize probably the amount of communication that we have with Chief Edwards and his police department pretty much on a daily basis just to help keep our schools safe. So big round of applause to everyone. I know this is kind of heavy for our first day back. Everybody's a little tired yet. But this was something that both staff, both the middle school and the high school, asked for when we did some carouseling last spring and we talked about our wellness goals. We heard an overwhelming response from you guys that you wanted to know more about what was in our schools, how to recognize it, and so we're trying to listen. And so again, thank you so much for coming in and helping us out this morning. At this time, I think that you guys are free to go back to your respective buildings, and I think that your administrators have put out an agenda. I don't know if there's faculty meetings or time to work in your room, but welcome back, and we'll see. You're having lunch provided in each building today, Eagle View, Parkview, middle school and high school from the PTA. It's a holiday lunch that they waited until today, and then Common Core Math, another light thing, at 11:45 right back in here. Thank you guys, welcome back.